Okay. It is 6:30, so we shall call the EDC regular meeting of Tuesday, April 13th to order and move right into director comments. So, Johnny, just start on the left here.
All right, everybody get the snapshot I sent around yesterday. Tax income for us was $21,999, which was the lowest since last March, but I guess that's really January's numbers. I think it's delayed by 2 months, but nothing to be concerned about. It's actually right about where it was last year. This February's. It was real similar to last March, almost exactly. Also, yesterday, the mayor and I met briefly with Galveston Bay Brewing for just kind of a welcome, quick photo, and AG was there, and she got a couple of question and answers from those guys. Not a whole lot to report necessarily. I think there'll be more to report next month. I think they're kind of reluctant to give away too much specific information, but in this year sometime. That's all I have for now.
Excellent. Thank you. Amanda?
I don't have anything to
Okay. Thomas?
We finally have, believe it or not, a meeting set up with Centerpoint. They're coming on Thursday. First it was at 9:30 and now it changed to noon. And I've just said yes because we weren't working on this since October, so whatever. And Kevin said he will join too. Yeah. Okay, good.
Good. Good. Mike?
No comments.
No comments. Joe?
I made some connections trying to find somebody via Alex on City Council, trying to find somebody that could do up some drawings of the pedestrian bridge. But so far, I'm not having much luck. So if there's anybody out there that has someone that could draw up the conceptual concept of a pedestrian bridge, get with me and we'll go from there.
Okay, my comments are limited to the fact I think probably several of you have heard the rumor that it turns out that my wife Becca and I are actually moving, and the timeline on that has been accelerated pretty significantly on me, and so we're physically moving next week, and our house is being sold, or scheduled to close on April 28th. Which means that this will be my last EDC meeting. I've not formally resigned, but one of our agenda items is to address backfilling this chair, and so that's the reason for that. And obviously I leave with a heavy heart and a lot of incredible memories of Clear Lake Shores, having lived here 16 years, and first got involved with the city, well, I guess really EDC was my first round, and then shortly after that was on council after Ike, because Mike Bass left, and I stepped into his chair and was on council for a year and a half, and so lived through Ike and obviously Harvey, and next round on EDC, and so it's a phenomenal place to live, and incredible place that our son grew up, but just time for the next chapter of life. So I apologize for the short notice on this, but that's just the way it played out. So anyway, appreciate that, and thank everybody for their efforts. And I'll continue. I promised Brent I would continue to be supportive as we wrap up the GBBC initiative and anything else that comes up. I have a great sense of ownership of everything that we're doing and want to continue to see those things carry forward. So thank everyone for their efforts. Then moving on, do we have any unscheduled visitors?
Charles, I may have an update for something that Joe's working on. It's not an agenda item.
Okay.
I know that discussing a pedestrian bridge, and there was 2 lines. I told Joe about this. I attended an online webinar with GLO, and it was in regards to 306A grant, which is a water access grant, very similar to how Jarbo Park came to life. And loosely configuring that, I believe I've submitted the pre-proposal to GLO, but it is for a single-span steel bridge across Jarbo, co-located next to Clear Lake Road Bridge, and a series of sidewalks that would connect up to Aspen, fill a void between a couple of driveways on that side, and then a meandering sidewalk that comes on this side of the road would go around the Welcome to Clear Lake Shores sculpture sign. That would be like a picture point or a check-in point, wayward point that we've talked about before, and then have it connect up to the round platform where the Christmas tree is. So to make it walkable by pedestrians, strollers, skaters, whatever. It would not be a golf cart friendly bridge, and the sidewalk would likely be 6 feet wide, and the span would probably be 80 by 6. So it'd be a 6-foot wide bridge, approximately 80 foot long. We have some.
So they conceived of that, or where did that particular plan, was that?
That was me trying to
Got it.
craft something that would fit that grant proposal.
Got it.
So,
okay.
And it fills a need, and I really am selling it as a safety consideration. I wish I was driving the other night, it was last week, going off island, and there was 2 strollers, a kid on a bicycle, mom and dad, walking across the bridge, and like a golf cart going southbound past them, and 2 big trucks, like pickup trucks, waiting to come across. And it would have been like the perfect staged photo to demonstrate the importance of safety of the pedestrian bridge. So safety is kind of the minor consideration. The bigger consideration for GLO is access to the water and for the public. So since it's right along the water, I don't know how you can get much more access. Going to move forward with trying to work that grant. It is a drawn out grant. It is money from it's combined with money from NOAA, the National Weather Service, and the timeline on that to be a final project is as far out as 2024 right now. But there's some hurdles to jump over. They have a limited amount of money. It is a competitive process, but and the maximum grant is $200,000, which would fall as a contributory to this project. I think we could get it done for around $200,000. And it would be I think it was a 60-40, so 60% grant to 40% city participation. I think the whole project, based on what I've seen with Galveston County Parks and Rec, they've done a similar span. I think for $200,000 total, 80,000 from the city, remainder from them. We should be able to get that done. So I'll continue to pursue that. It's kind of a parallel line. I know Joe was looking at the wood kind of pier across there. But I think the single span steel really is the way to go. We have them out in my neighborhood that go over the drainage ditches. They're some kind of a alloyed steel, but they rust, and then they just look kind of rustic, and they don't deteriorate beyond that point. So
Got it.
I think it would definitely be a nice addition to the city.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brett.
Exciting. Thank you. So then moving to the consent agenda, and I'll have to confess, Amanda did a fantastic job of having the minutes to us, I think, within minutes after the last meeting, and I just had failed to pass those on to Christie, so my bad. So we don't have minutes in the meeting, but those will be distributed. I think Christie's going to go ahead and send those out to everyone, and then they'll be part of next month's agenda. So we're just, the consent agenda items will be limited to the March 2021 financials and the March 2021 check register. So if everybody's had a chance to look at that, if I have a motion, I can have a motion to approve those.
I'll motion.
Amanda makes a motion, and have a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
I got a question.
Yes.
On this snapshot, we have up and through March, right? And in the agenda packet, it goes through April, the last page. Is that correct? Or is this an estimate?
Just the graph that goes through April, right? It's just the graph, right? All the tables.
Well, the table goes through April as well.
But not the QuickBooks or whatever's used.
And that's a good question. I'm not sure. Brent, do you have a copy of that? I don't know if you know. Yeah. Which begs, yeah, obviously we don't have April data, so it would have to be, at best, an estimate. So I'm not sure what the source of that is.
I think they report sales tax the first of the month. You file your taxes by the 20th if you're a business.
Right.
And then the report comes out from the state the first of the month. So what I'm looking at online must be, is this April? I don't know if it was February or not, but it was down 10% for the month, but it's 1.73%. Only 2%, less than 2% down for the year. So I think that may be a calendar year that the state reports.
It's the reporting of it, and sales tax runs behind, and it's on a different schedule, so.
So where does this data come from, though? This April is on the...
It's the state report that Ronnie's talking about that comes out the first of the month.
Yeah, this is April, so it'd be March, I guess March sales tax, which is what I
But
believe.
it's lagging, it lags.
Yeah.
So it's incomplete. So it's, yeah.
It's a 2-month lag because October would be our new fiscal year, and you don't have October, November, first quarter.
No, I'm just curious because today's the 13th of April, so, yeah.
So we reported those April, once receipt of the report.
So what's showing up in our financials, we're saying, is what we've actually received, which is a month behind. And this is state data that comes out April 1, but is really reflective of March data.
It's actually April, but it's February data, so we don't slow our folks down.
Got it. Okay.
It's an April report for February data, and so that's a short month, and historically, February's are light on sales because of, holidays and.
Well, we also have the freeze too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Granted, people will go home Depot and buy some stuff out of that, but.
They were sold out.
Right.
Right. Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Okay. There being none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Okay, motion passes. And next item, Joe, I didn't check with you, but I assume there might have been some conversation with Susie over just ongoing development of
I did talk
lawn
to
conditions.
Susie a couple days ago, and I guess the way she understood it, we kind of just left it as wait and see what happens, until July.
Right.
And
Yeah.
see what kind of grows back as far as the palm trees are concerned. She was curious, are we going to take steps further towards the 5-year plan. I didn't have an answer for her, so, but, we probably
Yeah,
need to.
that's fine. I just didn't know if there were,
Yeah.
just anecdotally, if it was it was looking better or worse than we had anticipated. I mean, it just.
Yeah, it's just a
Yeah.
matter, look,
Right.
it does look like the Medjools, they'll have some growth coming on, and I guess she did say she was working with you on a few things, right?
Yes, yeah, the city, we're working on the maintenance. We got a lot of them trimmed out, and the landscapers did a pretty good job of they inspect them, but they have to cut up to get to the top of them. We have some on West Shore that don't look like they're in a recovery mode. However, there's a great many, as you look out, they're starting to look like palm trees again. They got, green mohawks coming out of them, so that's always a good thing. We do know that we had some queen palms that froze and died. We have some smaller varietals that also have frozen and died. And we've taken down 3 trees behind the west parking lot that were dead, that were along Aspen. So back by the dumpster corral. So those have been removed. We did do a fungicide treatment on the Medjool, the entrance, that was suggested both by our landscaper, and I confirmed that independently with another formerly licensed arborist that went into construction instead, and still does tree stuff, and also Susie. And she said that was a good plan. And the Medjools are starting to send up some seed pods, which is indication that they are growing. But however, it is still a wait and see. We'll know more as we get a little further down the road. But on West Shore, you'll see some palm trees that they look like telephone poles. They're real thin, and they're very, very tall. They're old, and they're likely not going to recover, so those will have to be removed. So we'll have some empty spaces, and we'll need to work probably to put in some more hardy varieties of palm, not necessarily ones that grow tall and fast, but medium size, that are, I guess, more acclimated to our environment.
Yeah, and I guess, Joe, in my opinion, it would be that the 5-year plan, it's really just a matter of whether the first step is enhancing what we already have or attempting to replace some of what was lost. That.
Right.
I mean, we still have a big inventory of palm trees that need to be cared for, and we need to make decisions about whether or not we're going to fill in the gaps and just how big those gaps are. So, thanks.
She did suggest, I did ask her about the Medjools, and she said just kind of leave them alone at this point. And is that kind of your strategy at this point as well?
Yes. They did not suggest cutting the fronds off of them and all of that.
Right.
If they are truly dead, they will come down, and we'll have an answer. So.
Yeah. Okay, then, Brent, any update on the status of the east parking lot?
Yes, if you've been through there, GBS Electric started this week. The platform was partially in, and they were running some conduit runs to the base of that, getting it up to where they can mount the boxes. They had a problem with some equipment that they needed repaired in their inventory before they could start, but that is going on. And also during the same time as the east parking lot, they're going to be doing work for Plaza 1006 on the west parking lot. So we are going to duplicate the lighting and the post and the anchoring system and all that, and place a light in the west lot. And that'll be a 2-head LED, same wattage, and based on our photometric study, it should cover what we need it to cover. So the cost there was generally much less because there wasn't the new service that needed to be installed. We're running back to an existing panel that was already brought up in 2019.
Well, I think it'll be one of those things that once the lights are turned on, we'll go, wow, holy cow.
What's the timeline to finish that, Brent? Did they give you a timeline for when they're supposed to be done?
They, I think today when we were out there, the owner was there and he said, within about 2 weeks. So, it should start moving pretty quickly when you see they're waiting for the auger. When they get the auger in there, they'll do all of the foundations, for lack of a better term, and they plan on doing both lots at that time, so to save money. But if you do get up there and drive around, and there's not a lot of cars, you can see where the electric plant is painted out on it. They're not going to tear it up excessively with like a backhoe. They're going to do it with a trencher, so it's smaller.
Fantastic. Thank you. Well, let's carry on drawer. Hate to have these perennial topics, but this one I thought it was about also just funding. I know
Yeah, with drawer, spoke with Michael Shannon, the Galveston County engineer today on this project. The traffic light 518 and proposed drawer, Daniel Drawer Avenue, is being reviewed by TxDOT, and the reason why they're reviewing that, originally it had P-turns in it for a flashing yellow, and they needed justification to make it a complete cross-through intersection. So that's all been submitted. The project is designed with a flashing light initially, but can be upgraded to the full signal at some point. But if you're going to go in there and you're going to pour concrete and do curbing, you want to do all of that at the front end and not have to go back and do it in 2 years. So the planning for the future and the traffic counts are there, and I believe that's all going to pass. But Mr. Shannon, expressed some, he was perplexed as to why it was taking so long. And there's some delays at the TxDOT level, and once that is approved, then it will go out for bid, that project. We anticipate a good number for that bid, so we'll move forward. Also, CenterPoint is needing to relocate their power poles in that, call it a right-of-way, but it's really Clear Lake Shores fee simple lot that we bought to put a road in and put drainage. So I've just sent an email to our attorney to draft a letter to allow them to co-locate their poles in there. That was the intent all along. Any additional utilities probably would be handled with the developer in a permanent dedicated easement when they go to make their development. We're not in the supplying the right-of-way for the utilities. We want to get our road in. So that was our primary purpose. And
so what do you think that makes our funding requirement? Just rough justice? I
believe there's going to be try to be some creative financing where we may receive credit for the expenditures in purchasing the land that might make our match. So
wow.
So
that's some real creative.
So
okay.
Trying to tread lightly with that and let them work their magic. But we've and I think the county is receptive to that as well. So
that's fantastic. Wow. That's
talking about the roads taking a long time. Birch Road is opening May 1st. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have a unrelated note, but still transportation related on Birch Road Bridge. Have a walkthrough with Galveston County. We talked about that today, and that will be on April 20th, where they'll develop their punch list for the project and allow the contractor to do that. And I think they're still shooting at a May 1st completion date. But I was down there today. Of course, it appears to be functional, but they don't want it open yet, so they keep closing it off. And so May 1st, that should be open and usable for traffic.
And just circling back real quick to Drawer, whatever we call the existing Drawer Avenue, which is
there's Hanson, and then there's Drawer Lane.
Drawer Lane, but that is totally a private street at this point, and obviously they don't do a great job of maintaining the shoulders or mowing or anything. And do we have any kind of a shoulder, any outside of what will be paved? Do we have any maintenance?
I'll have to look at that. We do have I believe it's a hard pack shoulder that goes off into open ditch, because we
Okay.
needed that. But, yeah, the pavement should have a hard pack transition, and.
Yeah, so we won't have the grass just growing onto the street, yeah.
And in acquiring the land for Daniel Drawer Avenue, you know, Mr. Drawer, and I don't know if everyone's aware, but he did pass away in March, mid-March. And, you know, we were able to complete this project with his name attached to it, so, that's good for legacy purposes. But, Mr. Drawer designed and built Drawer Lane, as part of his construction project. And he was very proud of that. However, it kind of has a different curve in the middle of it, and does create kind of a traffic jumble at the end with the development at Aldi's and all of that. But that was not a design plan road by, you know, county standards or city standards. It was development standards.
Got it.
In the minimal amount of that.
Okay. Thank you. I don't know if you had anything else. Didn't.
I'm tired of talking.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, let's go to the third transportation mode that we can talk about.
Right.
This will be, you have bridges that cross water, and then you have water transportation in this area. And what's very important to that is the boat ramps. With Texas Parks and Wildlife, we'll start with ours in Shell Bottom Park. They finally completed their Texas Parks and Wildlife Division had a complete software transition, and they had a lot of problems with it. So they've got that cleaned up. On March 23rd, she said, after the grant agreement's been issued to you and you sign and return, you can submit your paid invoices for your pre-plan. So I think I'm getting ready to start on the engineered plans. I do have the proposal from Shellmark Engineering for that. I'll have to dig it up and look at it, but it's roughly around $25,000, and that's a fully reimbursable expense. And that was agreed to by the EDC, so we'll move forward with that, and we'll start with that. That project kind of came to light when the Kemah boat ramps were torn out as part of the State Highway 146 project. There was a meeting yesterday. It was a public meeting, information meeting. I had seen that same information without the pretty color slides, and talked about it probably 6 or 7 months ago at Portofino. And TxDOT is looking for a way to reinstate boat ramps under 146 now. So they're looking at either 3 or 4 to put in there, and evidently there is, and they're also going to do the same thing with on the Seabrook side. And what I found the most interesting thing I found out about this meeting is that the Seabrook ramps are different than the Kemah side ramps. And Seabrook side is a more aggressive descent in and is better suited for shorter vessels, and because it's on a channel, I guess. And the Kemah side is more suited for larger vessels, you know, and they can go up to, I think they said 52 or 53 foot long with some of these boats that they used to put in there. So it's less aggressive transition into the water, so you can really roll it out there, float it before it tries to take off. So we had there were 2 or 3 older people with lots of knowledge of that channel and what's crisscrossing in the bottom of it, and pipelines, and, you know, historical, institutional knowledge, and they brought a lot to the table, and I think they got their phone numbers so they can call and talk to them again. But you know, there's some changes. There's always been the U.S. Coast Guard channel on the north side of underneath the bridge, but the south side, which they use for traffic, has never been accepted by the Coast Guard. It's never been considered a navigable channel, and that's because a long time ago, that's where the I guess, the pivot point where a bridge was, and it was built in there, so it wasn't a channel. And then when they got rid of that bridge, they blew it up, tore it up, dropped it in the water, and so it's full of a bunch of obstructions. And so they're looking at what they can do to clean that out, clear it out, and have it again identified as a channel. So we have 2 channels, but right now there's only one channel where you would go out if you went around Clear Lake Shores. There's really only one Coast Guard channel there, even though there's 2. So they're also going to probably develop this plan and have to work with Portofino and acquire a little bit of land, and then also work on some dredging activity and then some silt protection for their harbor slash marina that's over there. So right now I guess it's silted in pretty bad, and that's part of some of the traffic and some of the other dredging activities that have happened over there. The spoils weren't removed, or they were put in the water and they silted around. So they have some problems that they'd like to also get addressed if TxDOT's going to go in there and dredge some.
How far in the future are we talking?
They weren't able to give us a very good answer or very concise. Right now it's really at conceptual level, but looking at probably 2 or 3 years. As best, I'd say probably 3 is probably the best, most reasonable scenario.
That's a huge benefit, though, that they're actually moving forward with that.
Yeah, and that's gone back a long way. So even when we started looking at Shell Bottom, that was a TxDOT consideration in some of our meetings that talked to them about that. 'Cause they were kind of oblivious. They do, they do roads and bridges. They don't do boat ramps, so they really didn't have any idea of exactly how that was working. And they have some constraints they have to work under, because they have they can only use federal money for within their project limits, and so that's another consideration that they're working around. So
Interesting. Okay.
Hey Brent, I don't know if you were aware or been over to the Marina Bay Harbor. They're doing quite a lot of work over there. They're investing in like $3 million on the net dry stack storage. They've got new floating docks they've just installed. They're going to have gas pumps over there. They're going to have a store, general store.
Gas tanks are in. They've got new parking area. Yeah, it is. It's going to be a very nice jewel to visit. And they have the floating aluminum docks, and they were working on those yesterday when I drove by and looked at the bridge. And they still have there's a large concrete pad that's elevated, and I still think that's planned for a convenience store. So a lot of good things happening.
We don't get sales tax revenues on fuel, do we?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
It goes to the state. We would gather some. We get it on the sales tax side, but the fuel tax. No.
Right. But but there's not a sales tax on fuel. Correct.
There is, but it doesn't come to us.
Right.
And we will get sales tax for every alcoholic beverage that would be sold.
I was going to say
as well. So
We want to encourage that boating and drinking
not
thing.
to contribute to anyone's delinquency.
passengers only. I was going to ask, we haven't talked about it in a while, but what about the path from Pima under the 146 bridge? Because I know we did a little bit of engineering work and this and that, but we haven't talked about it in a long time.
Yeah, the city engaged some design company to look at creating a roundabout. It was basically around and do a road relocation around one of those giant steel structures, the big transmission towers. And that was when we had an active developer that was looking at developing Starfleet. It's just been an empty place since I've been here, so I never saw a Starfleet or anything going on there. But when someone was looking at developing that, plan was to build a hotel/resort type with restaurants, bars, and then also have condominiums.
Sure.
And that fell through. I think that they found a location that was better suited, cleared, and had utilities and everything already on it, so they went elsewhere. And so the roundabout and that little jog in the road and all that also went with that. TxDOT did say in that meeting, 'cause we did talk about the connectivity between Clear Lake Shores and
Right, yeah.
FEMA, and they liked that idea that was supplied to them, but of course that's outside their scope of work and it's outside their limits. Their current project will, it comes out so far and then there's no connecting road, so there'll be a section in between the existing road and where their construction limit ends that would need to be put in. But that would go over the top of some drainage structures that they're putting in the ground. So I think it will be passable, particularly for golf carts and you know, the access over there. But I don't think it's going to be a road right now.
It'll be connected to chemo, that's chemo.
Will it be connected now? Okay.
Yeah, that's planned.
So it is in their scope of work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just making sure there was connectivity between Kima and here.
We were wanting to move from Fifth Street
To
to
Fourth Street.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
gonna put a circle in, and that's what EDC paid for instead.
Right, as part of the development.
Fifth Street's gonna cut in and turn over, that made more sense, because that's worth across.
There you go. Yeah, you'll be connected. Yeah,
Okay.
because you're going to go across and then
Just like it was before.
yeah, turn and go north and then hit the jag.
Brent, on our boat ramp, is the parking lot now gonna be paved? Is that the plan?
Yeah, the plan was to do concrete.
Yeah, okay, excellent.
Okay, thank you very much. Then last item is, and I'm behind on paperwork, actually submitting a resignation, so I'll roll it into this. I'll make a motion to submit my resignation from EDC, and in the same motion to nominate Johnny Boltinghouse as to assume the president role, and obviously I think that he'd do a fantastic job in that position. So that's the motion. Do I have a second?
Yep. Well,
Well,
anybody.
we got a unanimous second. Yeah.
Reservation.
Yeah. 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 So, okay, any discussion, questions?
Thank you, Charles.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Again, it's
It goes without saying, absolutely.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's a,
Yeah, thank you,
it's been
Charles.
it's been a treat, and it's like I said, it's not without some grief that we're moving on. Not grief as in bad grief, but grief as in moving forward. So.
EDC workshop in Galveston.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for taking that on. I really appreciate it, and I think you'll do a great job. So